So a number of years ago, when I was in the seminary, I went home to my parents' place for a long weekend, and on my bed, my mom had placed this children's book, and she had heard it read at a friend's funeral, and she thought it was really touched her heart, and she really liked it. So she thought, well, maybe if you become a priest someday, you'll do some funerals, and maybe you want to use this book. So I read it, and it was all about like what happens after you die. And part of it said, after I die, I won't be sad at all. There'll be no more suffering, no more tears. It was really beautiful in that sense. But then it went on to say that in that next place, I will no longer be tall or short, that I'll no longer be fat or thin. And then it said, I'll no longer be a boy or a girl. In fact, I won't even have a body at all, and I'll finally be free to just be me. I said, okay. I went downstairs, and my mom said, what'd you think? And I said, well, it's kind of wrong. She's like, what do you mean? I said, well, because as Catholic Christians, what we believe is that, yes, we all can struggle with our height, we can struggle with our weight, we can even struggle with our gender. But the reality is, as Catholic Christians, we believe that we are our bodies. That the human person doesn't escape the body and then they're finally free to just be themselves, but who we are is a body and soul duality. And so one of the big tasks of life is to accept and to recognize the truth of our own body, what our body reveals, that actually it's true that our body reveals our identity. It's what St. John Paul the Great called the spousal meaning of the body. That the body reveals that I am a man. My body reveals that I am a woman. Your body reveals this truth that you are made in the image and likeness, in the goodness of God. Yet at the same time, a lot of us can experience this. We experience this alienation from our own bodies. When I wish that my body looked differently. I wish, because I don't feel connected to my body. We have this alienation. Yet we're all called to get to the place where we can accept the reality and not merely our perception of our bodies. As an example, I remember working with a number of young women who struggled with eating disorders. I remember talking to this one girl. She was less than 90 pounds. So her body was incredibly sick. She was incredibly thin. She was so unhealthy, and yet she perceived herself as still being fat. Why? Because she had experienced this alienation from her own body. And so to help her, what would be the case? Well, I wouldn't say, well, I guess if you feel fat, let's go work out. Let's give you some diet pills. No, I would say, how can I help you? How can I walk with you? How can I listen to you and help you bridge that gap between your perception of reality and reality? How can we help you to get to the place where you're no longer alienated from your body? That's a long journey, but it's an important journey if you really love someone. There's this other thing called body integrity identity disorder. And in that, it's called BIID. What that is, the experience of this is that I might look at my own hand or my own foot and say, this is not me. I feel alienated from my own body. And so someone with BIID might go to a physician and say, could you please amputate my hand or amputate my legs? Now, physicians all across the United States know that might be your perception of your body, but the truth of your body is that's your hand, that those are your legs. So to help someone who experiences this alienation from their body is not to just go along with it, but it's to walk with them and help them. Or we have the case when there's a confusion when it comes to gender, where a boy says, I feel like a girl, or a girl says, well, but I feel like a boy. And again, this can be such a profound wound in someone that they're like, no, really, I'm not making this up. I'm not pretending. I actually do feel like a member of the opposite sex. Now, with complete respect and with not meaning to be rude, I just have to ask the question because I think it's worth asking the question, well, how do you know what the opposite sex feels like? And again, I don't mean to be rude about this, but the reality is, I'm a man. I know what it feels like to be a man only because my body reveals that I'm a male. In fact, St. John Paul II, he said, the body and it alone is capable of making visible the invisible. The body and it alone is capable of making visible the invisible. So I know I'm a man. Why? Not because I feel like a man. I know I'm a man because I have a man's body. The body reveals the person. Your body reveals your identity. So what does that mean? Where does that leave us? Especially as Catholic Christians who want to continue not only to affirm the teaching, but to affirm people. It's not a call to discard people. It's not a call to exclude people any more than if you or someone you loved experienced an eating disorder, you wouldn't discard them. You wouldn't reject them. If you or someone you love experiences transgender feelings or has a transgender experience, it's not a call to exclude or reject someone. What it's a call to do is to say, okay, you experience this alienation from your body, But your body reveals your identity. Your body reveals your goodness, that you're created male or female. And your body, which is so good, reveals your maleness or your femaleness. What we're called to do, whether we feel this way or whether someone we love feels this way, is we're called to not enter into any kind of politics. What we're called to do is to love persons. The world wants to say, oh, if this is how you feel, then that's who you are. That's politics. But the church, Jesus Christ, says, this is who you are, regardless of how you feel. You are made in God's image and likeness. You are his son or his daughter. Now, let us walk with you and remind you of your truest identity revealed through your body.